Up, everybody? As you guys are coming in here, you're probably wondering what's going on. We're doing another pod, another recruiting pod. That is Team 131. Well, basically, who's coming into Team 132? I'm pretty excited about some of the recruits that we have. Think that we got a pretty damn good squadron of guys coming in. So Chris Mason and I are here to talk about that. But with that being said, we'll be right back after the intro.
And we've beaten 3 of them. There's teams that are ranked in front of us that haven't played any top 10 ranked teams. And so my point to everybody is this about what your record is at the end, or is this about beating quality teams and showing how good of a team you really are by beating quality teams on the field?
But they didn't earn it this year. You have 3 losses. They're not punishing you because you scheduled Ohio State. They're punishing you because you lost to Ohio State. And no 3-loss team should get into the college football playoff.
What's up, everybody? As I said before, News 360 himself, Chris Mason.
How you doing?
Horns Down Podcast with your host, Chris Griffin. We are here for the recruiting intels. Chris Mason was on earlier with Jason. Shout out to Jason and Coach, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Go check it out. As always, Chris Mason was on earlier with Jason, kind of giving their live recap of the all the student commits, all the rest of the stuff that went down. A lot to talk about Chris Mason just from this class here, but I definitely thought it was a good time to take a little jab at my Texas brethren out there. I mean, I don't know. All the bitching, complaining, whining, moaning, groaning, all the I don't know. We're in the playoffs. You're not. Anyways,
enjoy the Citrus Bowl. And you can't spell citrus without UT, as Coach Spurrier told us, right?
Hey, let's go win the game, right? All right, Chris Mason, let's jump right into it, man. We had a class of, I think, about 24 commits.
That's right.
It's where we finished. I'll be honest with you, over these last couple of weeks, especially with some of the flips, some of the different things that we've seen with these commits or whatever, I think that we got some guys in this class that kind of changed the perspective of what this class was supposed to be. I think this class was really just supposed to be kind of a, more just depth guys that you're like, hey, maybe hide them out for a year and a half, 2 years or so, and then give those guys time to develop to actually come into come into their own to be able to contribute. But seems like you got a few guys on here that could contribute early and often next year. So we'll just start with the list that you sent to me with the topics or whatnot, and we'll just go off of that. Who
Sure.
out of this class who has the highest floor?
Well, I think Jake Krull has the highest floor. I think the odds of him being a bust are very, very low. You look at his pass rush skill set right now and how advanced he is in his technique. His get off is elite. You heard Jim Nagy talking about that today. If you guys didn't watch the Jim Nagy interview, his press conference, watch it. He's telling you a lot of bigger picture strategy about how he works, how he does stuff. I think we're back into the music there, Chris.
Oh, no, we're not. We're good. We're good.
Okay, well, it's playing on my side.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Okay, sorry. Listen to the Jim Nagy interview. He's talking a lot of big picture stuff. You can pull the nuggets out of there. But I would say Jake Krull is the guy I think has the best chance to have an impact next year, even with a deep defensive end room. And he's the biggest. I think he has the highest floor, the lowest sort of the lowest bust factor number to him. I will be stunned if he's not a contributor for the Sooners.
Okay. Just going down the list, who do you believe has the highest ceiling? Again, people, we said highest floor was Jake Krull. Now we're about to say who has the highest ceiling on the team.
I would say I'm going to go with Brian Harris.
Okay.
When you look at when you think about Todd Bates and what Todd Bates does with raw materials so far, so it's a little bit betting on Todd Bates, which I think is an easy bet. I think Brian Harris could be David Stone-like. I think that's his ceiling. That if with the right coaching, and the kid's got an amazing upside, personality, kind of team captain, Kip Lewis kind of the Energizer Bunny kind of factor to him. I think Bates could take his skill set and go way above where he's currently ranked, and I think his ceiling at defensive tackle under Bates is sky high. So, do you have a different name there, Chris?
Man, I really want to go with Pettit, but I just don't want to be burned like I was on Elijah Thomas, man. This is a coaching staff that will play freshmen. We know that they will play freshmen.
Yep.
Let's just let some things progress for now. So let's keep it moving. Most likely to star as a freshman.
Well, for all of the debate about DeMarco, and I don't want to get into that because I know we have some DeMarco non-fans, but we can say DeMarco has played freshman running backs the last 2 years.
Yes.
I mean, can't disagree with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Jonathan Hatton has the potential to be a star. If Rob is banged up or Blaylock is banged up, I think Jonathan Hatton could take carries and never give them back.
Mm-hmm. I know my when I talk to my uncle, he really likes the Walker kid as well at running back. He thinks that those two could, yeah.
Yeah, and Hatton's 6'1", 220. That's what he told some recruiting guys today, and he ran a 10.6, 10.7 100 meters this spring.
Mm-hmm.
So he's huge, and he has legit speed. So I think that would be the name. I think could be a star. Could be a star as a freshman.
All right, let's keep going. Most likely to destroy their recruiting service ranking.
All right, let me just double check his ranking here. I haven't looked at it recently, so I'll just pull it up here. Verbals, commitments. All right, so let's scroll down all the way to the bottom of the class because that's where he's ranked. All right, so Bo Jandro is ranked as the number 1,000 player in the nation. He's ranked as the number 47 linebacker by Rivals. So not highly ranked. But if Bo Jandro is healthy, his film when he's playing, including the last 2 games of his senior year, the only 2 games he played, he's averaging 15 tackles, multiple tackles for loss, forced fumbles, sacks. He could easily be, he could be the Heineke of the next Heineke guy, right? 6 foot, 225, blitz off the edge, forces fumbles, tackles for loss. He has all of those kinds of skills. If he can stay healthy, that's the guy I think could obliterate his recruiting ranking. Remember, in spring, when OU got him, Texas and Oregon wanted him as well.
Yeah. So, what about the Christian Moore kid?
Well, I think so. Kristen has to. I talked to him today. Really good kid. He hasn't been playing linebacker as long as Jandro.
Mm-hmm.
He's been playing edge rusher. He was an edge rusher from that perspective.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of linebacker adjustment time, I think, to work some things out. I think he could quickly. You just never know how they'll develop, right? How quickly they'll leap to it. But Jandro, if he's healthy, he walks on campus and he knows how to play linebacker. So he's a linebacker all the way. So he's an inside linebacker all the way. So I think that sets up Jandro for a little better chance of blowing past his recruiting rankings.
Okay.
Moore's got a little bit of a positional switch to go through. If that works out fine, Moore could easily be the second guy because they're both massively underranked.
Right.
When you think about the fact that where they're going and who their teachers' mentors are going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some kids, if Oklahoma State signed these 2 guys, you'd be like, well, who knows what's going to happen to them. But you've got Nate Dreiling, you've got Rufus Alexander, you've got the Clemson guy whose name I'm forgetting.
Wes Godwin.
And you've got Brent. And these guys also could theoretically both be on campus with Kip, Kobe, and Heineke to mentor them, right?
Yeah.
Those could all return. So especially Kobe, if these guys get a year under Kobe as mentoring them, I think that could escalate their development.
Yeah.
So that's why you're like, these guys are lowly ranked. I'm like, yeah, but look where they're going and look what they do with talent at that position.
All right. So you got a thing on here. You say, who is the guy out of this class? Who's the commit out of this class that you trust the coaches? You trust the coaches that this could be like this kid could be a star. Who is that guy?
Well, I think it's Markel Ford, mainly because I think we've got to give Brandon Hall his flowers, right, and say Brandon Hall knows what he's doing at safety development and safety recruiting, because basically the last 3 years I'm really trying to think of a kid he's had who's a bust, and I'm not really coming up with one.
No.
So, if somebody please correct me on that, but I don't think you really have one. So I think the fact that Brandon Hall has badly wanted this kid for 2 years. When I watch his film, he's 6'1", 205. He's super athletic. He hits. He has great ball skills. Is this like a Stephen Parker? Is this like, somebody like that? Could he be Robert Spears Jennings? There's a lot of potential here. And the fact that Brandon Hall is like, I don't care he's committed to SMU, let's go grab this kid. The last 2 weeks of recruiting tells me that Brandon Hall, who's coached this guy at multiple summer camps for OU, this kid has a 3-year relationship with OU. Jim Nagy today, or maybe it was Brent, said that, Ford really wanted to be a Sooner. And the moment OU said, well, we think we got room for you, he just jumped on it. Okay, official Boomer 580 does have a name, does have a bus name, so props for him. But didn't we really kind of take him to get his brother? And isn't that maybe his brother's fault that he's a bust? I
I
don't know.
wouldn't even necessarily call him a bust. I mean, the kid still went to another P4 program, and at the end of the day, I mean,
Yeah, okay, all right, all right. I mean,
he was a freshman here, man. I just think that that room just started
well,
to fill up.
he's back in the portal,
Yeah, I know
so
he's back in the portal, but still,
yeah, all right. But that okay, that is the of the names. That is the one guy, Brandon Hall, that we took that Brandon Hall didn't get a chance to develop, and he went
yeah.
elsewhere. So well, that's a fair. You caught me, official Boomer 580. Props for that for pulling up that name. So, but I think based upon everything else, I think Markel Ford is a low 3-star, and I think is a mid 3-star, high 3-star. He was a 4-star at one point when he picked A&M. Then he got injured a little bit in his senior year. When he came back, his film's great. I just think, when you take a look at Brandon Hall's track record at OU right now and what's going on with the safety room, and I'm telling you, you're giving Brandon Hall another 6'1", 200 plus guy with speed and serious ball skills. He looks great at wide receiver for his high school. He's playing both ways. And he's playing cornerback right now, and he looks really good. I think you give Brandon Hall that kind of raw material. I think it's a huge possibility that that we should just say, yeah, he doesn't have a lot of stars next to him, but this guy could be the next star for us. That's just the way the safety position's going right now.
I got you. Let's keep it moving. The guy you were afraid was going to get away.
So it's obviously Jonathan Hatton or Jaden Petit. There was a stretch in time. There's a long stretch where we didn't think we were going to get in Hatton. I thought, well, maybe Hatton's back in play. Maybe OU's going to make a push. And nothing really happened there. And then Jaden Petit, there was I kept telling you guys he was coming, right? Consistently, I was on this pod for about 3 weeks saying, he's coming. He's coming. Yeah. And nothing happened. I was like, asking my sources, is he still coming? Is he still coming? And then finally, he pulled the trigger on Thanksgiving, didn't he? Yeah, Thanksgiving Day.
So. Yeah.
I was heading to a Thanksgiving party, and he verbaled. So those two guys, and I think those two guys raised the skill level position of this class. Elite running back, elite wide receiver. You look at where we're struggling. If you're of the opinion that it's skill position difference makers, and I think that's a we could debate that left and right, but I think there's some validity to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think these two guys are guys that when Brent's calling him a freakazoid at his press conference today, you know what they think of Pettit, and Hatton is Hatton's a beast. You watch his video, you're like, okay, that guy can play in the SEC. So I think those are the two guys you've got to be like, wow, they're two top 100 kids at positions of need in our skill position rooms, where you get both of those guys and it looked like they were both slipping away. I think.
I was just going to jump in here and just say, man, Hatton is everything that DeMarco could dream of for a back, because he I won't say that he ran like these systems that we've ran, but the whole thing is that the style of the running style is perfect. I mean, it's what DeMarco is basically coaching. Be patient, be able to, have vision, see where the hole is forming, play behind your O-line, see the hole, get through it, win that one-on-one, let's go. So that's the whole thing. You kind of have to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt, and then you're saying, okay, if X-Rod can be healthy, Blaylock can be healthy, is that going to be our top three, right? And then with Pettit, you're excited because I think we all would have some belief that Eli Thomas is going to see the field next year, and I think Manny Choice is probably going to see the field next year as well. I think, talking to my uncle, we're really excited at maybe the fact that you may actually go, a true 4 or 5 deep next year at wide receiver, as far as seeing different guys out there like we were promised this year. We're starting to see that a little bit, but we haven't seen it as much because for whatever's going on with Keontez Lewis, it just kind of is what it is. But you've seen, Jermichael Carter, you've seen, Missouri game, you saw pretty much all 5 of them out there on the field at different times. So that's something that we haven't been able to see an awful lot, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to see something like that next year.
Yeah, I mean, Nagy was, as JBDY9BL said, that just flows off the tongue right there. Nagy was saying, Pettit measured 6'3.5", 220 during his visit.
Mhm.
And then he went out, his visit was during the summer, and then he went out this fall and put up like 1,600 yards and 23 touchdowns and, like 25 yards a catch, and was just physically dominating really good Florida competition. So,
Yeah.
same thing Patton did from that standpoint. Hatton did as well. He had nearly 1,500 yards. He's still in the playoffs, I think. No, actually, they got beat. They got beat by Malik McCrary's team, the 2027 cornerback. His team, Johnson High School, I think. So they got knocked out. But those two guys, you were afraid they were getting away from us, and then you put them back. You put it back in this class. It makes a big difference.
Yep.
That's two top 100 skill position guys for a team that certainly based upon our stats could use two elite guys, one at running back, one at wide receiver.
All right. Who was the commit who convinced you that Nagy's methodology could be successful?
So when he first came on board, Nagy kind of threw the OU offer list and the take list a little bit into chaos, and he kind of rearranged some things. OU dropped 4 or 5 kids they easily could have had in this recruiting class who have higher recruiting numbers. Okay, I could list off a couple of names just in state if we want. Taj Overton, Mason James. There's 2 names right there.
Mm-hmm.
2 guys who could have easily been Sooners. So Nagy's looking for NFL measurables and athleticism and potential and high ceilings, right? That's what he's looking for. So to me, Matthew Nelson, who they offered when no one really knew who he was, everyone's like, well, who is this guy? And nobody really knew what he was doing. And then I looked at his film. I'm like, wow, this kid is all arms, all speed, all frame. His ceiling's sky high. I mean, the floor's there, but the ceiling's sky high. I know you offered him. He verbaled immediately to OU. Then he came to OU summer camp, looked great there. And then he's had a great senior year at Bryant, and he's now a top 300 player by at least one service. He's a 4-star by one service, top 300 guy. And, it's basically everything Nagy says has panned out. It's like, okay, you hear the OU coaches were talking about him today. Brent said he's added 25 pounds since they started recruiting him. So the kid's got a huge frame, super athletic. It's not quite Danny Okoye athletic, Chris, but it's probably just in the next level below that.
Okay.
So that to me validated a little bit of gave some validation to what he was trying to do. Like, okay. So, because Nagy, one of the highlights of Nagy today was he laid out that the 3 things he wants to acquire in a recruiting class are a quarterback who can make plays and be a high-level quarterback, guys who can get to the quarterback, because you got to have those, and guys who can protect the quarterback. You have to have those as well.
Yep.
And when you think about the class, Bo Bentley, high-level quarterback as we could really get in recruiting. Jake Krull gets to the quarterback, as do the other guys as well, at defensive end that may take a little bit more time than Krull. And then the area where we were a little weak on, guys who can protect the quarterback. Although Deacon Schmidt at right got right tackle, can abuse D-line, and I think Noah Best inside. He plays for a team. He plays for a team that really runs the ball all the time at Midlothian. Once he gets a chance for Bill to brush him up on his pass pro, he could be a center or he could be a guard. But we need more of those guys. We don't have enough of those guys in the class.
So, obviously that segues into this next one. You said biggest miss, and you mentioned Luke Waffle.
Yeah. So OU was in a pretty good place with Luke Waffle the year before. For those that don't know, he's the big defensive end that signed with USC, 6'5", 255, 5-star, just looks good. Just looks really good. And OU nearly got his brother twice, once out of high school and once when he went to Penn State in the portal. And Luke was seriously looking at OU. He visited unofficially, but in that whole springtime period where OU started to lose momentum with some kids because, quite frankly, negative recruiting, and OU had struggled the year before, and that was really kind of weighing OU down in recruiting. I kept coming on here with you and Jason, and you kept saying, "What's up with recruiting?" I'm like, nothing winning on the field won't fix. And that seems to be true.
Yeah, very.
But you just lost momentum with those guys, so they never got a chance to have an official visit from Luke Waffle, never got a chance to make their pitch, and he would have been, if you could have added him to Jake Krull, that would be just an absolutely vicious pass rush group. Guys, I could have gone with Davion Gross, but that name's really too easy.
All right, now who was the biggest surprise?
So when Penn State did whatever they think they were doing when they fired James Franklin and didn't have a replacement coach ready for the next, is it like 55 days? I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
There's like a Penn State site with like a, day 55 update kind of, like a hostages in Tehran kind of thing, day 54 kind of, crisis day 54 or government shutdown, like the government shutdown kind of countdown previously. Not going all political, guys, just kind of just using them as an example. I didn't think OU was like, well, let's just go poach a bunch of Penn State guys. I didn't really think that was really going to be what OU would do, just because, Chris, the majority of the guys are from the Mid-Atlantic region. They're from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, sort of the Maryland, D.C. area, not areas where OU is heavily recruiting, with recruiting players. So then there was a lot of buzz. I think it was Kyle Dupuis who's on these Kyle's right there. So yeah. I think Kyle was like the first guy to say, we should go get Josiah Rogers. And I'm like, who? And I said, okay, Kyle, I'll be back next week. Let me look at some film and do some homework. That's terrible from James Rice there. I'm not sure. That's not really family friendly right there, James. That's not really family friendly content there. So we'll skip that for fear of getting a YouTube violation from somebody. But Kyle said, look at Josiah Rogers. And I'm like, all right. And I went to look at his film. I'm like, okay, I see what you're talking about. The kid's dynamic. He's fast. He's making plays everywhere. And then you find out he's a 4.3 laser guy at Penn State's camps. And then you're like, well, but he's from Delaware. Well, we've never had a Sooner player from Delaware, to the best of my recall. And then then Chris, he shows up for a visit, verbals almost immediately, and never looks back. And he's from Delaware, and it's just kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know that we had any connections to him before. It just shows kind of we were winning, we were doing really well, and it just shows the power of kind of that recruiting momentum. We're about to go play Tennessee and Alabama, and we just got we got that big swing of momentum from the Tennessee win. And we were able, the OU coaches, all credit to them, we were able to lock him down and get a verbal from him. And unlike other Penn State guys who've all flocked to Virginia Tech and have, Penn State signed one kid today, Chris. Just one. You're on mute.
I think they ended up signing like 3 or 4. I saw
well, when I was finished with Jason at around 1-2 o'clock.
Yeah,
they had signed one kid.
Yeah, I saw them. They had moved from 150 to 138. Like Penn State is basically. I mean, they've been depleted, man. They are. Yeah.
Well, let me check how many kids they actually signed here. Who did they sign?
I think they signed 4.
All right, let's go. But Franklin has just pillaged the class. Yeah, you're right. They signed 2 kids officially. And I don't know what their national rank. They don't have a national rank. any longer on the 2-4 on Rivals. They don't have a Rivals rank. They signed a quarterback who ditched Auburn, and they signed a defensive end from Pennsylvania. They're both pretty good, pretty highly rated kids, but they signed 2 kids. So, but really, Chris, for OU to have got a kid from Delaware, I love Rogers on film. I think he's another potential kid who could play early for OU. He's very good on special teams. Probably depends upon whether Satania returns or not. But he's a kid who could play. And again, he's a fast kid, but he's good size. He's 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", 175, 180 pounds. He's not a tiny guy. He's not a tiny guy. And he looks great on film, but I'm like, how are we getting a kid? How are we getting a kid from Delaware?
No.
So that was the biggest surprise for me.
You recruit. Hey, you're a national brand, man. You go out there and get kids.
Yeah, it is, and you do, and I know you did that. But sometimes you forget the national power of that brand, and grabbing a kid from Delaware that kind of takes you there a little bit.
All right, let's jump into some questions. Official Boomer 580. He says, Mr. Mason, Landon Duckworth, Fong to LSU. Is Peyton Houston a pipe dream? And
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think OU's found a kid in Jameson Roberts that they think has maybe a higher ceiling. So why shift your focus back to a Louisiana kid who may just screw you at the end again?
All right. Urban Engine, he says, what's up with Joseph Graves out of the 27 class? Tulsa. He's a Tulsa. I guess he's from Tulsa. He's a D tackle at IMG right now.
Yeah. I don't know where OU is with Joseph Graves right now. Right now, on Sunday, Elijah Harmon, the big defensive tackle from California, is verbally committing. Greg Biggins, the West Coast guru, thinks OU is going to get that commitment. So do a couple of national rivals guys. So that would be one slot. OU hosted George Toya from California, who has moved to Texas, whose brother played at UCLA when Stacey Ford was there and has a close connection with Stacey Ford. So OU might be in the running for him. Mm-hmm. And he's a top 100 kid. Is OU going to let the Jalen Brewster thing just go to tech? Yeah. So I don't know where Graves is in that pecking order. I think they probably would like to sign 3 guys. It's hard to get a read on how big Graves is and how tall he is. He's fallen in the rankings a little bit. So I don't know where OU is with Graves. Well, I think that we're going to have to see some things shake out until maybe the spring, and then we'll have a better idea of where he is. If OU picks up a couple of big-time defensive tackles before him, OU may be passing. But I don't know that. I don't know that right now. Or they may take him because they want a bigger D-line group. OU just lost Tron Richardson of Vatech, so it's only 2 D tackles instead of 3. I could see OU going for 3 defensive tackles in this upcoming class.
All right. So let's jump into this real quick. This is interesting. So Kyle, just give me a second to get all of this out, Mr. Mason. So Kyle Dupuisi says, hey, still unconvinced that these wide receivers are going to do anything. Literally our whole current wide receiver corps are transfers. He's just talking about the guys who are actually playing. Obviously, they're in the chat talking about, hey, Manny Choice and Elijah Thomas were rumored to start. And then I think who was that who's jumping in? Is that James Strice and B. Lou's ISB Lou? Yeah, he said Kyle, I blame Arbuckle and the offensive assistant on that for not going deeper into the depth chart. I know my uncle and I, we had a conversation about that as well. It's just like, is that hurting somebody like Eli Thomas, where you just like he should have been getting some snaps? Which, I mean, he got some snaps, but mostly at the end of the game. But, you're so far down because you still got Kearney there and you still got Carrion. And, again, I know it's way too early to talk about that because we still have football to discuss and games to play. But, geez, Chris Mason, it does feel like that's a room right there that I wouldn't even really call it a hit, but I think that, as we're going to start calling that, we need to just go ahead and coin that and have that each year where we say, we project who is going to be a part of that list of people that BV and company have to have a uncomfortable conversation with, because I think that's a room where you're going to have a bunch of uncomfortable conversations, simply because hasn't necessarily panned out for some of these other guys. Obviously, you will still like to have the depth, but I think you have to balance that amongst the three variables that are out there, which is, one, you have guys that could be good depth pieces that that you can trust next year, but you also have guys behind them who are who have higher ceilings and are, could outright be better. And then also the fact of the matter is that because the success that you have, because OU is hot this year, because of the recruiting because of the recruiting aspect with both on and off the field, with the current staff, with the way that they recruit, but also and they connect, and also Nagy and his group, the way that they're recruiting and they connect. You can go out to the portal and you probably can hand pick a bunch of receivers, Nick Marsh, right? Anyways, all I'm trying to say with all of that, Chris Mason, is that, just to kind of put this in a perspective of this actual class here, I do believe that a Jasir Rogers, and a especially Pettit, those two guys are guys that you have, and the Odom kid as well.
Yeah.
You forget about him, the Odom kid as well. Those are kids that are not coming in here just to be depth pieces. Those are kids that are coming in here to play. And so I think again, there's some uncomfortable conversations you're going to have simply because, hey, even going at it with this right here, Jacob Jordan. I think he makes a lot of plays whenever he's on the field. Haven't really seen him this year. Not even. I mean, I don't think he's injured because he's been out there returning kicks and stuff like that in the kickoff, but nothing more, nothing less. So, I mean, it's a valid point that's being made out there, but I do believe that next year, I think it can be and it will be different as far as the bag that you're displaying. I think that as good as Burks can be, he hasn't been. I think that Satania has had a tremendous year, and I am so happy that he bet on himself and came to OU and is having a career year. But I still feel like, hey, we need a number one, somebody that can help him be even better, because I think there's another level that he can get to, and he's playing like a number one. He is our number one. Obviously, you're giving grace to Giovanni Gibson because of the leg. He's starting to kind of come into shape now.
He is.
As far as what he's doing. Keontae Lewis, just really want to see him healthy. I think that it kind of is what it is with him. He's been good this year, been pretty damn good this year. At times, he's looked like our one. I think Jermichael Carter has I think he has a certain ceiling, and I think that he has another gear that he can get to given the opportunity.
And he enrolled late, so he was
exactly.
That was a liability for him. He was playing catch up. Yeah. So
you're looking. I mean, I think right now, if the vultures were circling, you're looking at Kearney, you're looking at Carion, you're looking at KJ Daniels, you're looking at
Raggins. I think all four of those guys are. I mean, Carion. I mentioned this, I think, on a previous pod. It's time to have the Mark Andrews conversation with him.
Yeah,
it seriously it is. It's like, dude, you need to put on 20 pounds and become a flex tight end.
Yeah,
and if you're not willing to do that, thanks for playing. Here's some lovely parting gifts. Enjoy wherever you're going.
Yeah,
because they're going to tell you the same damn thing. But all right, dude, whatever.
Yeah, because as it is, that room is it's deep. I mean, it is Jacob Jordan a part of that conversation as well. I'm like, I'm a big Kearney fan for sure, but I just think that there's some conversations that you have to have.
Well, he's obviously fallen behind Carter and Gibson as the big receiver in there. So yeah, I think Yes, you guys are all well grounded being suspicious about us talking about impact freshman wide receivers.
Yeah.
Um, so I think you're all well grounded with that. I think if I was OU, I would put as much money as you could into one elite portal wide receiver.
Well,
And I went and then put the other money into one elite portal tight end.
mm-hmm.
That's what I would do with my cash. And I would let your freshmen and your redshirt freshmen go give them some meat and see who comes out with the bones, right?
Yeah.
And then if you return Satania, I think you only need one elite wide receiver. You've got Carter and Gibson, and then you've got whoever doesn't portal, and then you've got, I think, as you said, 3 incoming freshmen who can play. Xavier Okafueleze probably needs a little seasoning time, just level of competition.
Yeah, I forgot.
He's a good kid, but he hasn't been playing elite kids in Florida, elite kids in Cali. And he's new to football, so his potential's sky high, but he's new to football. So yeah, that's what I would do. Is I'd go get one elite wide receiver. Is that Nick Marsh? Could be. Everyone's like, "Well, go get Cam Coleman." Well, first off, he's got to be in the portal. Second off, you've got to fight off everybody in football for him, presuming guys like Dallas Wilson don't hit the portal and everybody else. So I think one wide receiver makes a lot of sense if Satania returns. If Satania leaves, I think you might be in the 2 range. But I think if Satania comes back, you go get an elite guy from the portal, someone who could be 1A to Satania's 1B, and then you tell Emmett Jones, get your young studs ready. We want them on the field, and that's a development conversation that I think maybe Jim Nagy's the one that has that conversation. I just got you 3 stud wide receivers. I want to see them on the field.
Yeah.
Make that happen. Just like Hatton. Well, DeMarco won't play him. Well, DeMarco says he will play freshman. And maybe Nagy says, you and I just went 9 innings to get Hatton. I don't want to see his ass sitting on the bench. I want to see him in football games early.
I think it's a thing of telling some of these freshmen and telling just some of these other guys. I mean, I think the recipe is pretty straightforward. What you have to do, not only do you have to do something extraordinary to be on the field, but I mean the little things, the small things. Just be physical.
Yeah.
Be able to be counted on. Be available. Right.
Run your route correctly. Block a guy correct. Block for your teammates on wide receiver screens.
Do all of the right things that you need to do. Be physical. Be the one. It's not about being first in line. It's about getting all the reps that you can, asking the right questions, and also, I mean, just being ready for these drills, being physical. I mean, that's the biggest thing, being physical, working your way, being willing to be on special teams, different things like that. But it's got to translate. But I think that one thing that people still are not talking about is just a simple fact that I believe that, and I still have high hopes for not only Mateer, but Arbuckle as well. I think Arbuckle is in a situation to where his coaching style, as he calls it, is, hey, I'm going to run an offense that fits the players that I have right now. And I think what he's working with right now is not necessarily what he will be working with next year or the year after that, so long as he's here, right? I think that he's going to have better personnel on the perimeter. I saw somebody put it in here, and I kind of agree with that. I don't necessarily think that Burks is our outside guy. He can play outside. He can do it. We've seen it before. But at the same time, I just, right now for what this team needs, I think that Arbuckle is calling this game in a manner that really relies on the defense, right? That puts the game in the defense's hands, plays off of that, scores like Shaq, when you have to, when you need to, which hey, that's the winning recipe, and that's fine. But at the same time, I just think that people got to understand. I think the game plan has kind of changed. To I don't think that they've mailed it in. I think that they've tried to be explosive. We don't. One thing, Chris Mason, I will say is that we don't give Arbuckle and company enough credit for the other side of it. Yes, we understand it's been bad. Yes, we understand there's been things that have happened and there's kids that we want to see. But I would say, Chris Mason, like they are trying. They come out juiced. They're trying to do some different things. I mean, hell, the Missouri game, I mean, my God, they tried to air it out. They, if they connect on uh, you know, 4 out of those 7 passes was probably a whole different, discussion right now of like, oh, that's
I,
what, yeah.
I was encouraged by parts of the passing game against LSU. That's a good
Yeah,
secondary. They've got NFL guys in the back on their back end,
yeah.
and we threw the ball better than we had thrown it for months. So all in all, I think. I mean, to me, sometimes I'm like, look, National Signing Day is kind of like New Year's, right? Everyone gets to make resolutions. Everyone has having a good day. It's not the day to remind me of that. You binged on Twinkies 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
that's not not National Signing Day, guys. Is not the day to be in that. Well, it doesn't matter what our coaches are so bad they won't play freshmen anyway. I don't want to hear that crap on National Signing Day.
No,
The 2 weeks from now, we can go back to that.
I think
But National Signing Day is like a happy. This is a freshman who can help us,
yeah.
and we get to focus on what are they bringing to Norman.
Well, the whole thing is again, I think that the what the theme around this class should be is that hey, this class went from being looked upon as a kind of a quality over quantity type group. Because I remember there was a time that you and I spoke and you said, hey, I don't think they're going to take a lot of kids in this class, in this 2026 class. You said they're going to take what they want, what they feel is going to help the team. And I think that at first, when you start seeing some of the guys that were coming in here outside of like a Bo Bentley, you thought to yourself, well, I don't see anybody that's like a game changer, this and that. It's a guy that may take a year or two to get on the field. But what this class has quickly developed into over the past couple of weeks is a class where you come back and you say, hey, again, I think that this was a class that's going to give us some foundational pieces and it's going to add to what we have when Peyton Bowen graduates, right? Because now you're going to be able to come in there with Boganowski, Powers, Hardy, Amario,
Robinson.
Robinson, and now you can add a Markel Ford to that group as well, right?
He can
Um,
bake. He can bake a little bit, and then
yeah,
2027 when you've lost Peyton Bowen, and now you got Omarion. Okay, so who's backing up Omarion?
yeah,
Well, guess what? Markel Ford's had 2 years to get ready, and now he's ready to play.
yeah,
So the defensive end, Daniel Norman. We've lost the PJs, the Taylor Wines, the Danny Okoyes. They've all gone on to be NFL draft picks. What do we do at defensive end? No problem. We got Wyatt Gilmore, C.J. Nixon, and Danny Norman, and Jake Krull. Oh, okay. All 4 guys who've been developing that Chavis badly wanted. Again, I think Chavis, if you were questioning whether Chavis was worth the money to be a defensive end coach, I think you pretty much have that question answered.
yeah,
But I think one thing that did happen is, Chris, is I think the numbers went up because OU thinks they've got I think the only way they would do this if they know it's going through is they've got 105 scholarships to play with. So that's why they added 4 or 5 depth pieces at the end.
So with that, I got 2 questions for you. One, we're going to save it just for the last thing because I want to get into that. But the first question, are there any late evals? Meaning people, don't forget, Taylor Wine was not a early signee. He was somebody that wasn't even on
No,
our
no,
radar.
he was an early signing.
Oh, he wasn't?
Taylor
I
Heim.
could have
Taylor
sworn.
Heim was a late signing.
I could have swore that Taylor Wine signed in the second cycle, right?
No, he signed in December.
Okay. Okay. I know that I know his backstory. I know he's a pivot and all the rest of that stuff. I followed that, but I could have swore that he was a
No, but it makes a good point. So we now have a staff of front office evaluators, right?
yeah.
So in the past, I think Brent kind of closed down. They closed down recruiting in December, right? Because he was moving on to the next class and he was too much other stuff going on, right? Too busy.
Yeah.
I got to start my junior days. I got to start the next class, right? I got to move on to the next class. I can't keep recruiting this class. The table has changed. There is now a front office staff that does nothing but look at film, look at evaluations and scouting. So what I would hope is that those guys in January are still looking at high school kids for the February signing day. That OU should use you got 3 periods to add talent now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just had the December signing day. We're about in January to have portal madness.
We'll talk about portal here next, but again,
but February
Yeah.
is a high school signing day. In January, the OU front office should be giving Brent names of kids that they say, whoa, this kid just completely fell through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
We should offer him and get him on campus for an official visit.
so the question that I'm trying to ask is who's on your list or who
I'll
do
give you
know?
a name that I've said before that I think could be interesting. I think he's had some academic problems that he's needed to clear up, and maybe a lot of schools are just waiting for his second semester, his first semester transcript, right? Okay, he's made the progress. There are still NCAA academic rules. I know it doesn't seem like there are any after COVID, but there are still some rules out there, right? You still got to graduate high school. And there's some kids that have messed around academically, and this kid's been very forward about this in conversation. So I don't think it's unfair to talk about it, because generally I don't like to talk about academics with kids because that's their business. But Maxwell Robinson is a 6'4", 300-pound offensive guard center from Kansas, from Derby, Kansas. He's camped at OU 2 years previously. He's had an OU offer for 18 months. And let me just double check. He has not signed anywhere. Let me do that real quick. Let me get out of the Penn State player rankings. Yeah, that should give me player search. Search players. He would be a name that I could see OU offering. They need to add at least one more high school offensive lineman. They tried to add 2, but those were two of the guys at the end of the day. Maxwell Robinson. Okay, he's not signed anywhere according to this. He's a 4-star by 247. He's got a lot of athletic ability. He could easily be a guard or a center for OU, and he would be a nice addition in the class. That could be a name that OU just his first semester transcript. OU gets it and says, "Come on down for a visit.
Mm-hmm.
Come on down for a visit, and go from there." So that could be a guy. Aiden Martin, from in-state. I don't think he signed anywhere. He's an offensive lineman. He was supposed to sign with OSU, but he backed off. I don't know if that's because of the OSU coaching change. He's 6'5". He's he decommitted. He's from Berry Hill, Oklahoma. He's 6'5", 300. He could be a guard easily. So he could be another guy that you could take. Nagy did say he wanted more cornerback recruits. We seem to be resolving that issue in 2027, where OU could sign 5 cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Or guys who could play cornerback safety, hybrid guys. So if they really wanted another cornerback, they probably could have grabbed one in this class. But offensive lineman, Nagy clearly said he wanted more. So I think those are 2 names OU could kick the tires on, have them come in for a visit. Part of this is also just, I hadn't heard of Jonas Mua or Noah Beebe before 10 days ago.
Yeah.
So those are 2 guys that OU wanted that went elsewhere. They can find other guys. Defensive tackle is going to be harder.
Yeah.
That may be more where you go to the portal and you have a guy who's struggling at his current location and has multiple years and decides, Guys seem to go to OU and have a lot of success. I'm going to contact OU and contact Todd Bates and say, I'd like to come in. And OU says, yeah, no problem. We'll add you to the mix. Know that you're fighting to get in our top 5. And that's one of the problems we have from that standpoint is, when you're talking about some kids will look at our depth in some positions and be afraid of our competition.
So let me ask you this, just to kind of turn it on its head, just early talks about that. As we stand now with this current class, current roster, go ahead and balance that out with the uncomfortable conversations you think are going to happen. What are our portal needs? Now, we disagree on one because I think that defensively I think that you still have to take looks to see who's coming. I mean, who's out there, because I think you can add quality pieces to the defense.
Okay.
But again, what are our portal needs? I mean, right now, as we steadily approach that date, January 2nd is coming like no other.
Yeah. So if two eligible, well, let me rephrase that. If the one guy at the running back position who has eligibility and who might leaves, then a running back. Okay. I think if Satania stays, you need one elite wide receiver. Go big. Don't spread it out. Just get one guy. At tight end, you need 2 guys. You need one guy who's an all-purpose blocker, someone who can make the schemes we want work when he's out there. Then we need just some guy who makes defenses afraid. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Ruxer could be that guy, but it's a lot to put on a freshman. Okay? Offensive line, you need, I think, you need a guard, the best guard you can get regardless of years left, eligibility left. Because you're going to play Foji at tackle.
Yeah.
Then you need a young offensive lineman who has some flexibility in position and has several years to play.
You need somebody to play center too. You need a backup or somebody that could potentially come in and compete with Michaela, right?
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't move Heath Ozada to center.
Yeah.
But if Heath Ozada leaves, then yes, you need a center. Okay. So that's the offensive side of the ball. So what was that? That was a wide receiver, tight end, maybe a running back, and 2 offensive linemen. So
let me jump in here real quick.
Five guys.
Byron Smith says quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back. We all agree with that.
No, we don't agree at quarterback.
Oh, excuse me, quarterback.
We don't know about quarterback.
That's an interesting detail. That's something, guys. Let's table that.
Put a pin in that.
We'll table that one.
Yeah.
Then Sooner Cowboys, he says running back, wide receiver, and tight end, but he also says linebacker.
Well, linebacker is really dependent upon who leaves and who stays, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you lose Kip, maybe you can absorb that. You lose Kip and Kobe, you probably need to go look for a linebacker, a veteran linebacker. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's that. I don't think you need a secondary player. You've got too much young talent, too many guys competing, unless there's like some mass exodus, and I don't see that happening in the secondary. I think you don't need a secondary piece. You do what you did last year. Stand pat, let the young kids develop, okay? From that perspective. Linebacker, I said, I don't think you're going to find defensive tackle and defensive end they're tough, right? Mm-hmm. Can you find someone for the right price point that's willing to be part of a deep competitive rotation at both positions?
That's true. There's going to be guys out there. It's another.
I mean, Trent Wilson's coming for playing time.
Nigel Smith's coming from playing time.
Wyatt Gilmore and C.J. Nixon aren't just going to be sitting on their asses waiting to not get on the field. Yeah. And if you saw Wyatt in scrub time, that kid's got to get off and headhunting quarterbacks. So defensive end is if you can find a Marvin Jones Jr., that could work.
Trace Ford, something like that.
Something like that. If you can find that, but I don't know that you can. And so let's just say this: do you want $100K going to a 6 defensive tackle, or do you want that $100K being the extra piece that puts you on top to get an elite wide receiver?
I would think that you would have to go and try to. I mean, is there? Well, obviously, we don't know if there's going to be a guy that hits the portal like that. But is there a Kendall Daniels type of guy that you can go get to help at that cheetah spot? Because obviously, don't get me wrong, I think Tad Powers, and hey, any doubts that I had about Powers coming into the season, I have none now. Powers is that
same with Bogo, right? Same with Bogo.
Yeah. Same with that entire secondary. But the whole thing is just that
he's kind of a unicorn, man.
Yeah.
Daniels is kind of a unicorn. So
yeah, the flexibility that he gives you, right? That's
we're gonna do lots of, once our playoff run ends, we're gonna do lots of like, what does OU look like next year? What does OU need to do kind of stuff. We're gonna do portal stuff as well. But one of these conversations we'll have is like position moves before spring. What would you do? And my number one position move before spring is I move Trene Washington to cheetah from tight end. Tell him to drop 20, to lean up, get into the 230 range. He played safety in high school at Midwest at Carl Albert, and move him to cheetah, because I think that might be cheetah linebacker. I think that might be the better use of his playing time, especially if we get an elite tight end, right? And Tyler Ruxer is, again, if you guys haven't watched Tyler Ruxer's film, watch it. The kid, in terms of pass catching tight ends, is probably top 5, top 10 in the country. And he knows how to block in the way that, and I mentioned this with Jason, sometimes Gabe is talking about, you don't need to be like a physical powerhouse at tight end blocking. You just need to get in the way. You need to use angles. You need to turn guys around. You need to understand the physics of blocking, right? And that sometimes you don't have to like power guys to the ground or get holding calls. You just got to disrupt them. James Thrice, I love him physically too. I just don't know about the blocking part of being a tight end and that stuff. Maybe in spring he blows up and my comment seems stupid and I'd be willing to back off on that. But I don't want to waste a 6'5", 235-pound body that could run because he's having a hard time picking up the physicality part of blocking at tight end. So
what about this one right here? And this will be the last question that we have tonight, folks. True Okie 22, he says, any potential changes in the coaching staff, promotions, or departures?
Okay, so I'm going to make a comment to everyone, and it'll probably piss some people off. If you're one of the DeMarco Murray dislikers, and I know there's plenty of folks that are in that camp and have what they feel like are legitimate reasons for that. DeMarco is going nowhere unless he wants to leave. He just got Jonathan Hatton. He's got 2 running backs for 2027. He's got his top running back for 2028 basically in the fold, and Micah Rhodes, who's a 5-star. He's not going anywhere. All right, now let's talk about who might be going somewhere.
Yeah.
Based upon all of my recruiting data and everything I look at, I don't hear tight end recruits talk a lot about Joe John Finley. They talk a lot about Arbuckle. They talk a lot about Nagy. They talk a lot about Brent. I'm having a hard time seeing how Jim Nagy doesn't sit Brent down and say, me GM of football, you head football coach. I think we need a new tight end coach. A real easy answer, I think, to a variety of OU problems could be hiring Jason Witten at tight end coach.
Is that your lofty goal?
Certainly has the gravitas to any recruit who comes in. I think Dallas Cowboy Hall of Famer and potential NFL Hall of Fame tight end Jason Witten maybe gives you a little more of swag and cachet than what we currently have.
Yeah.
He's well known in Dallas. He's coached high school football in Dallas for 4 or 5 years. He's very well known in the area. I don't know. It's a pipe dream. But defensively, what would you do? If somebody was to tell me that they think a defensive coach is on the chopping block, I'd ask him, have you fallen down lately? Do we need to consult medical care? I mean, Bill's not going anywhere. Emmett Jones, I think you can have that argument all day, just a little bit like DeMarco. But again, we just got a really good wide receiver class, and he's got good wide receivers for 2027. But you could swap him out if you could find the right guy. So there's discussions there. We'll have to see. But none of this stuff is really... We entertained this because you guys are always talking about it. But really, we got football games to win. Let's talk about this afterwards.
All right, people.
That's an hour. We're giving you an hour.
Gave you an hour, gave you way longer than we usually are on here for, but you guys already know. If you missed it, people, we're going to end on this note.
Teams, and we've beaten 3 of them. There's teams that are ranked in front of us that haven't played any top 10 ranked teams. And so my point to everybody is this about what your record is at the end, or is this about beating quality teams and showing how good of a team you really are by beating quality teams on the field?
But they didn't earn it this year. No. You have 3 losses. They're not punishing you because you scheduled Ohio State. They're punishing you because you lost to Ohio State. And no 3-loss team should get into the college football playoff.